Everyone thought Jade Mitchell was just a quiet accountant, until the night she exposed her powerful sister-in-law as the heart of a $200 million international crime ring. But uncovering one lie was only the beginning. In a world of corporate greed, hidden enemies, and betrayal closer than blood, Jade learns that justice isn't about who speaks loudest. It's about who never saw you coming. My name is Jade. I'm 34 years old, and I live a life that looks unremarkable by design. To most, I'm a senior accountant in a modest office downtown, someone who handles small business ledgers and tax filings. And that's exactly how I want it. What they don't know is that I'm a senior federal auditor assigned to the Special Investigations Division. My real job is to uncover complex, high-stakes corporate fraud. I go unnoticed, and that's my strength. 3 years ago, I was transferred from general auditing to special investigations after exposing a multi-million-dollar embezzlement ring involving a chain of luxury hotels. Since then, my life has been a tightrope walk between secrecy and duty. I've worked late nights, taken last-minute flights, and sat silently in meetings with people who had no idea I was preparing the case that would destroy them. Not even my husband Mark knew what I did, not the full truth. "You're skipping family dinner again?" he asked that morning, holding his coffee mug with a weary expression. "You know I've got a ton of work." I shuffled a pile of documents on the kitchen table. It's my mom's birthday. Kate's already saying you don't care about the family. Just hearing Kate's name made my teeth clench. Mark's sister-in-law had made it her life's mission to make me feel small. Married to Mark's older brother, Jack, she ran Reynolds International Construction and flaunted her supposed success like a badge of superiority. "Fine," I sighed. "I'll go, but I'll be late." What Mark didn't know was that I wasn't preparing for any ordinary workday. After months of silent investigation, my team had uncovered a disturbing paper trail. Reynolds International, Kate's pride, and Joy had been laundering money and evading taxes for years. The amount, staggering. The methods, sophisticated. But not sophisticated enough. "Numbers don't lie," my colleague Daniel whispered as we sat together in our quiet office late the night before. "They've built an empire on fraud," I replied. Tomorrow we open the formal audit. I locked the evidence in my secure briefcase. Confidential statements, dummy contracts, offshore bank data, all painstakingly gathered. And then, I got ready for the family dinner that would change everything. At exactly 8:00 p.m., I pulled up to Mark's parents' mansion. The house sparkled in the summer night, a showpiece to Kate's taste for excess. Inside, crystal chandeliers hung like overcompensation, and walls were lined with art that screamed wealth but whispered emptiness. "There you are." Mary, my mother-in-law, greeted me with a warm hug. "Kate's been asking about you." I bet she has. As I stepped into the dining room, I felt every eye turn to me. Kate, seated at the head of the long table, was a vision of smugness. Her makeup flawless, her jewelry loud. "Oh, look who finally decided to join us," she said with a rehearsed smile. "Busy day at your little accounting office?" "Something like that," I replied, settling in next to Mark. "You should ask Kate for a job," Mark's father chuckled. "Her company's booming." "Sorry, we only hire real professionals," Kate chimed in. "Not office accountants." Mark's hand tightened around mine beneath the table. "We just landed the contract for the new shopping center," she said. $50 million. But of course, Jade wouldn't understand numbers that big. Before I could reply, the doorbell rang. "Are we expecting someone else?" Mary asked. "That must be Finn," Kate said with pride. "My new business partner. I told him to join us for dessert." The maid opened the door. Footsteps echoed through the marble foyer. But it wasn't Finn. It was Director Vernon, the head of federal audits and my boss. Kate's face turned pale. She knew him. She'd met him once before when he visited her office under the guise of a casual tax briefing. She had no idea then that he'd already flagged her. "What is he doing here?" she hissed to Jack. Director Vernon smiled, eyes locking onto mine. "You didn't tell them, Jade." Silence fell. "She's just an accountant," Kate blurted out. "A simple one." "Simple?" Vernon's grin widened. "She's the lead federal auditor investigating Reynolds International starting tomorrow." Gasps rippled through the room. I calmly reached into my purse and placed my federal badge on the table. Maybe we should talk about that 50 million, sis. Kate's wine glass shattered against the floor. My mother-in-law stared at me, her face pale. Jade, is this true? I'm afraid so, Vernon said, taking a seat. Your daughter-in-law is one of our top investigators. She's been on this case for 6 months. Mark turned to me, his face a mixture of shock and dawning pride. So that's why you were always working late. Kate rose, voice shaking. This is a conflict of interest. She can't investigate family. Which is why I'm recusing myself, I said, pulling another folder from my briefcase. I'm here to inform you that Director Vernon will lead the audit. But I wanted to tell you in person. Jack stood, his fists clenched. What exactly are you accusing us of? 50 million for the shopping center, right? I asked. And what about the other 30 million routed through fake subcontractors last quarter? I have no idea what you're talking about, Kate said, her voice faltering. Or the 3 overseas properties declared as company losses but bought under shell corporations? Jack shouted, Enough! You can't slander my wife. She's been laundering money for years, Vernon said flatly. And tomorrow, we'll prove it. Kate laughed, a shrill, hysterical sound. What proof? Everything is clean. You mean the documents in your private office? I said quietly. Or the ones hidden behind the Van Gogh painting? Her fork clattered to the plate. How? 3 months ago, you asked me to look over your tax forms. You left me in your office while you showed off your new yacht. You talk too much, Kate. You're just a low-level accountant. Vernon pulled out his phone and hit play. A recording filled the room. Kate's voice. Relax, Finn. Auditors are clueless. No one suspects a thing. He turned to the stunned table. We have hours of recordings, and tomorrow we'll collect the physical evidence. Kate bolted. 2 federal agents hidden in plain clothes near the entrance intercepted her. You can't do this, she screamed. See this badge? I stood. You're under arrest for corporate fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. As they cuffed her, she glared at me with hatred. You ruined my life. No, I said. You did that when you thought the law didn't apply to you. Mark came to my side and took my hand. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Kate's final scream echoed down the marble hall as the agents led her away. My in-laws sat frozen. Jack began to panic, muttering about lawyers and immunity. Director Vernon looked at me. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. I looked down at my badge and then at the shattered wine glass. Yes, I whispered. But it will be worth it. The fallout from Kate's arrest was far from over. As the headlines continued to dominate, national news, Jade Mitchell found herself at the center of a whirlwind she had spent her entire career avoiding. She was used to working behind the scenes, quietly, methodically, piecing together financial crimes one ledger entry at a time. But now she was the face of one of the largest corporate fraud investigations in federal history. Despite the storm around her, Jade returned to her modest office at the Federal Bureau of Audit's Special Investigations Division. Her desk was cluttered with thick case files, encrypted drives, and a half-eaten protein bar. Her coffee had long gone cold. She stared at the map on the wall, pins marking shell corporations, fake addresses, and known associates tied to Reynolds International Construction. A red string ran from Kate's smiling headshot to dozens of other people. It looked more like a conspiracy web than an audit plan. Daniel stepped in with fresh intel. Interpol just confirmed the shell company in Singapore. Accounts were opened, using false IDs traced back to Jack's travel records. Jade nodded, exhausted but relentless. We need to link them directly to the missing $70 million. And the luxury condos in Barcelona? Seized this morning. The pace of the investigation had only intensified since Kate's arrest. What began as a $50 million shopping center audit now stretched across multiple continents and revealed a staggering $220 million in fraud. Jade's instincts told her there was still more hidden beneath the surface. Back home, Mark tried his best to support her, but the strain showed. Dinner conversations were short. Sleep was rare. The only comfort was their shared understanding that the truth mattered, no matter how painful. One evening, Jade was poring over newly declassified reports when her phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered cautiously. Mitchell. A deep voice replied. If you want to protect your family, drop the case. Jade's spine stiffened. Who is this? Click. Her hands trembled slightly, but her resolve only hardened. She dialed Daniel. We've been compromised. Full surveillance on my home now. Within hours, the Bureau had agents outside her house and sweeping her car. Mark refused to leave her side. Maybe it's time to step back, he said gently. I can't. We're close. Too close. And someone's scared. The next morning, Daniel dropped a new file on her desk. Photos of Kate meeting a mysterious man in Dubai 2 years ago. Facial recognition returned a hit. Milo Renetti, a known associate of the Carvalho cartel. Cartel? Jade whispered. This isn't just white-collar crime anymore. No, this is global. 2 weeks later, Jade flew to Washington for a classified meeting with Director Vernon and members of the Joint Financial Crimes Task Force. The mood was tense. Satellite images, seized offshore ledgers, and encrypted communication logs filled the war room. This is no longer a single case, the director said. We're looking at a transnational network using American construction firms to launder money for cartels. Kate was a node, Jade said, voice steady. But there's a central hub. And I think I know where to look. Jade had traced the majority of Reynolds International's offshore movement through a holding company in the Cayman Islands, DeLuna Enterprises. And DeLuna had connections far deeper and more dangerous than anyone imagined. I want to go there, she said. Not, Director Vernon snapped. You're too close, and they know your face now. I'll wear a mask if I have to. Let me go. I know their numbers. I know their tricks. No one else can spot their patterns like I can. Stared at her, then sighed. You've got 1 week. And Jade? Be careful. The Cayman heat was suffocating, but Jade barely noticed. She moved from one financial firm to another under the name of a foreign investor, gathering intel. Late one night, she sat alone in a rented condo, decrypting a drive she'd stolen from an abandoned office, and then she found it. The final piece, it wasn't just Reynolds. 3 more construction giants were in on the scheme, and at the center of it all was a shadow investor known only by one codename, Obsidian. Jade's fingers trembled as she opened a locked folder labeled Obsidian Core. Inside were transaction, logs, fake identities, and a routing number that pointed back to a U.S. politician. This goes to the Senate, she whispered. Back in the U.S., Jade met with Director Vernon in a secure underground room. We're talking billions in laundered money, she said. Obsidian is real, and he or she is untouchable. Vernon rubbed his temples. This just became a national security threat. At home, Mark tried to smile through dinner, but Jade could sense the tension. I'm sorry, she said softly. I know, he said. But I also know you won't stop. It's who you are. That night, their home security system glitched, just for 2 minutes. But it was enough. Jade found a warning message scrawled on their bathroom mirror in red lipstick, stop digging, or he bleeds. The he was underlined. She closed her eyes and took a breath. She wasn't just hunting corporate thieves now. She was going after a criminal empire. The next day, a package arrived at her office, no return address. Inside was a USB drive and a note. For Jade. From someone who wants this over. The files were explosive. Internal emails, wire transfers, and personal communication between Obsidian and top executives in all 3 construction firms. It even included private chats between Obsidian and Kate. Kate had known the truth. She hadn't just been laundering money. She had been communicating directly with the mastermind, and she never said a word. Jade stormed into the holding facility and demanded an emergency interview. You knew, she hissed at Kate seated across the glass. Kate looked thinner. Hollowed. I told them what they wanted, Kate said, shrugging. But not everything. Why protect him? Kate leaned in, her voice trembling. Because Obsidian doesn't make threats. He makes people disappear. Jade narrowed her eyes. I'm not afraid of him, Kate laughed bitterly. You should be. Later that night, Daniel called in a panic. "The USB? It was traced. You're compromised. Someone's coming." Jade was already moving. Grabbing her files, flash drives, and sidearm, she raced through the emergency exit of the federal building. As she got into her car, a black SUV roared into the lot. She peeled out, tires screeching, phone pressed to her ear. "Vernon," she gasped. "They're here. Go dark. Now." For the next 72 hours, Jade vanished. Safe houses, burner phones, switching cars. She used every counter-surveillance technique she'd ever learned. But Obsidian was still one step ahead. On the third night, her phone buzzed again. A single message. "You were never just an accountant. You were always the threat." Attached was a photo of Mark, standing outside his office. Suspense will peak, secrets will shatter, and vengeance will demand its final scale. The night air was thick with dread as Jade Mitchell stood atop the abandoned parking garage overlooking the federal courthouse. Below, agents scrambled like ants, unaware of the ticking storm. Her phone buzzed again. Another photo of Mark, this time leaving their house with a visible red laser dot centered on his chest. It wasn't just a threat. It was a countdown. Daniel's voice rang in her earpiece. "We've got the facial recognition match from the USB logs. Obsidian isn't just a financier. He's ex-intelligence, CIA Black Division. Real name, Thomas Keene." Jade froze. Keene had disappeared from official records 10 years ago. "That explains how he's always ahead," she muttered. "He built the system we're trying to beat." "Exactly. He's been laundering money through shadow shell firms while keeping politicians on his payroll. He's more ghost than man." Jade took a breath. "Then it's time I become the ghost, too." She couldn't go through official channels now. Too many eyes. Too many rats. So she went rogue. With help from an old contact in cybercrimes, she accessed Keene's last known digital fingerprint, an encrypted satellite bounce from a private server farm in Prague. It took 3 days and all her skills, but she finally hacked into a silent server labeled OB Core. Inside were detailed plans, not just financials, but bribes, blackmail dossiers, execution orders. Keene wasn't just cleaning money. He was building a parallel government, ready to activate once the current one collapsed. One name in the files caught her breath. Mark Mitchell, her husband. Jade's heart pounded as she read the memo. Potential leverage. If Jade resists, use him. She called Mark immediately, but no answer. Within minutes, she was on a plane. She landed in Washington, where Vernon met her in a secure hangar. His face was tight, pale. "Mark's been taken." Jade clenched her jaw. "Then we're done playing defense." The task force gave her 2 options: stay and coordinate, or lead the infiltration mission into a private estate on the outskirts of Virginia, where Keene was rumored to be hiding. "I'm going in," she said. "You're not field-trained," Vernon warned. "I am now." The estate was a fortress. Motion sensors, thermal cameras, mercenaries with ex-military precision. But Jade had something they didn't expect: her mind. She used hacked blueprints to access the drainage tunnels. Crawling through darkness and filth, she emerged in the lower levels of the estate. Inside, she found Mark, alive, bound, bruised, but defiant. "Jade?" he gasped. "Shh. I've got you." She freed him, only to be caught in a floodlight. "Well, done?" said a calm voice. "Keene." He stepped out of the shadows, dressed in an elegant gray suit, no weapon in sight. "You're quite resourceful, Ms. Mitchell. We could have done great things together. You used my family. You tried to. Silence justice. No, I preserved balance. You think jailing a few CEOs makes a difference? I built a system. You just play inside it." Jade stepped forward. "That system ends tonight." "Really?" Keene smiled. "Your agency doesn't even know you're here." "I'm not alone." Behind her, the tunnel exploded in movement. Federal agents stormed the estate. Daniel appeared with a rifle. "Game over, Keene." Keene's smirk faded. "I underestimated you. You underestimated all of us." The takedown was swift. Keene was cuffed, his files seized, his empire finally crumbling. 1 week later, Jade sat in front of the Senate Oversight Committee. Cameras flashed. The world wanted answers. You took down a global laundering network, Ms. Mitchell. What made you keep going, even when it endangered your life? Jade looked into the lens. Because justice isn't just paperwork. It's people. It's true. And sometimes it takes a simple accountant to bring the mighty down. Kate watched the broadcast. From her prison cell, silent. Mark, fully recovered, joined Jade at a quiet cafe a week later. You think we're done? He asked. No, but this chapter is. She raised her coffee mug. To the quiet ones. To the ones no one sees coming. Months passed. The world slowly forgot the scandal, but Jade didn't. She accepted a new post, Director of Global Financial Crimes Division. And every morning, she looked at a photo from the night it all began. Kate's smug face, the shattered wine glass, the family who never saw her coming. And beneath it, a plaque. Justice has no costume. But it always shows up.